But again, my point here is that every time you try to do that, oh, you got destroyed here. What you're actually saying is that what you're actually doing is you're reassuring to yourself that you're comforting yourself and saying that I'm right. Nobody can say otherwise. I'm right. I'm right. I'm right. That's what you're doing when you do that, right? So every time you say, oh, you got destroyed here, that's just you trying to comfort yourself in your belief because you don't know how to defend it properly. You know? What happens when we die? Do we cease to exist? Yeah, it seems to be the case that when you die, your body decomposes, you rot away, people soon forget you, and it's as if you never existed. Nobody cares about you anymore when you die. No matter how successful or powerful you are, you will be forgotten. Now, people don't want to hear this, right? They don't want to hear that. Because part of being alive conditions yourself to thinking that you are special in all of this. That there's some reason why you are here, that you have an important place in the universe. And this is the reason why we have religion. It's the fear aspect of the human brain that says, no, there's got to be something more. I got to go to an afterlife. I got to see the loved ones I used to have in my life but have died. And it's too sad to imagine never existing again. That's too sad. And so there's got to be something more. That's God. That's religion. That's heaven. However, I see things a bit differently. I acknowledge that all we might have is this life. I acknowledge that in the grand scheme of the universe, our existences are extremely fragile, and ultimately, they don't mean anything in any objective sense. And for some people, they can't go there. They can't acknowledge this. It's too much of a burden emotionally to fathom this, to sit with this. But what I have done in my life is I have sat with it. I have become comfortable with it. And because of that, I see things from a different perspective coming out of it. Because now I look back at, because I've accepted that life is so finite and small, I then see the importance of living life to the best of your ability. In fact, because life is so finite and small, it emphasizes the importance of doing the best you can in this life, in making the best life you can now, and being the best person you can be, in experiencing the most you can out of this one life. It's so fragile, it's so delicate, it's so precious because of that. From the eyes of the universe, our lives are nothing, but from the eyes of you and me, our lives are everything. And that's all you need to live a worthwhile life. I don't care what the universe thinks about me. I care about what I think about me, what people think about me, how I can help other people, how I can make this life meaningful. Instead of waiting for meaning out there in the universe, I can make it here. I can do something in my life now that actually makes things better for others. And that's incredible. That drives my life. That's what makes me want to keep going and keep living, because of the things we can do. I mean, look at what we can do. even though we're mere molecules in motion, right? Or just mere apes on a rock. But look at what we can do when we work together. We can build technology. We can go to the moon. We can explore the vastness of the cosmos. We can understand the universe itself from which we come. We can, in a sense, be the universe experiencing itself. That's amazing. And so, yeah, it's all subjective in my view. Yeah, but that's irrelevant. Whether it's objective or subjective, it's all irrelevant. What matters is that we have created something in the moments we've existed. We've done something. Right? It's like watching a movie. A beautiful movie. Did the movie lose meaning because it ended? No. That experience, although it was short-lived and finite, it still meant something to others, to people. The ones who are experiencing it, it meant something for that moment, and that is enough. Why do we need some cosmic being to judge any of this? Why can't we be the judges? Why must there be some cosmic being out there who tells us what our purpose is? Because if you think about it, that's what God is to people. It's the cosmic judge who tells us what our purpose is, what our roles are. But I don't want that. I wouldn't want... That would be like a father telling his son, "Son, your role in this world is to be a lawyer." But the son doesn't want to be a lawyer, right? The son wants to do something else. And so, in a way, we're free to be what we want, to do what we want. In a sense, we are free. Because we don't have a cosmic purpose, because there is no cosmic judge, because there is no God, we are free. That's how I see things. Not only do I see an immense amount of purpose in my life and in your life and in our lives as members of the cosmos, but I see immense amounts of value and purpose. And freedom. So, yeah, at face value, it seems sad. People don't want to go to this place where they accept that life has no ultimate purpose. They don't want to think about that. But if you go into those deep areas, you come out of it with a new, renewed perspective on the world that I think enhances and builds your character. Versus you trying to say God is our reason, God is our purpose. That's, to me, not a deep sense of purpose. I think that's a very shallow one. Do you think the universe exists independent of our mind? Yes, I think that it seems that the universe exists. It's a real place. And our brains are just ways we tap into it. Our brains, our nervous systems are just ways in which we are tapping in to the universe's behaviors. We are experiencing the universe through our bodies. Nihilism is just depressing because if you can create a meaning, why would you not? Well, nihilism just says that there's no ultimate meaning, which is, I think, the right position. However, there are flavors of nihilism, right? You can be an optimistic nihilist who says, okay, maybe there's no ultimate meaning, but we can do something about this. We can create our own meanings, right? That's my view. I think that there's optimism to be had here. I think there's no reason to be pessimistic. But there are other people who think that because there's no ultimate meaning, then that means there's no point in existing. And to me, that's a very ridiculous notion. I think that there's just too many great things to do in this world, too many rich experiences to miss out on, to not miss out on. So yeah, what I'm saying here is extremely, like, most people are scared to go to these places. People are scared to accept how tiny and small we are. It can be quite scary. But accepting it, becoming comfortable with it, that's where you become free. And I think that if more people understood this, the world would be a better place. That's really ultimately why I advocate for atheism and things like that. Because it will make the world a better place if more people understood this sense versus the religious sense where, we're only here because God made us in one day and now we all have to do what he says and appease him. I think that's a very shallow sense of purpose. And I think from my perspective, you can derive a deeper, more fulfilling sense of life and purpose without religion, That's all. But it's a journey. What I'm saying here is it took me 10 years to understand, right? I don't expect people to listen to me in one sitting and become an atheist. That's never going to happen. I never thought that could happen. My goal is to help people think and help people emotionally understand the world. Because look, a lot of atheists, in fact, no atheists I know of, talk about this stuff. It's always, come up, debate me. God is evil. Yeah, God kills babies. That's why he's bad. Haha, God's not real, right? It's always that kind of debate where the theist has to come up and the theist has to offer something to the atheist. I think that's wrong. I think that's fun, and there's utility there, but I think we have to go a step further, and it's time for atheists to offer something deeper than just, God isn't real because he's evil. I think we should be offering a sense of, where do you get morality from? Where do you get purpose? Why are you here? What, those deeper questions I think are important. Those deeper conversations are important for atheists to have, because people are hungry for that. Look, most people don't care about your philosophical arguments against God or for God. Nobody really cares about that, right? Most people don't give a shit about your philosophy about God. What they care about is, connecting with the world, connecting with people, community, a sense of guidance. That's what they care about. And a lot of atheists don't offer that to people, right? We need more people offering a message to others from a secular point of view, right? I don't see any atheists doing that online. And then we wonder why 95% of people are still religious. That's not good, right? Think of all the activism people have done for the past 20 years online in regards to religion. And think of how many people are exposed to atheist content. Millions, perhaps even billions. Yet, still, only 5% of the world are atheists. That's a complete failure. Atheists, I don't know why atheists aren't like doing something about this. We are failing miserably. And the reason why is because we don't offer anything. It's always the theists coming up, and we have to use logic to defeat them. But most people don't resonate with logic. They resonate with emotion. We need to touch people deeply, in a sense, spiritually. And that's how we get more people to leave religion, you know? Because look, I wholeheartedly believe that if most people on this planet were atheist, it would be a far better world. Religion is a large driver of hatred, bigotry, violence. And it's just that we atheists have done a poor job in demonstrating this to people, that this is the case. Mike says he doesn't want to turn people into atheists. Now look. Oh, well, I do want to change people and help people. It's just that I can't turn you into an atheist today, right? I know that's not possible. That's not what I'm trying to do. I can't turn you to an atheist today. What I can do is offer a message to you in the hopes that you'll go, let me think about this, and then change for the better. That's actually a good point, because a lot of atheists will say, oh, well, Mike, this sounds like proselytizing, and we don't want to be like the religious preachers. But why not? Think about that. Why? There's nothing wrong with preaching. See, we've been conditioned to believe it's bad because it's annoying. It's annoying to us, right? And we go, oh, look, the churches, they're taking our money. Oh, that's annoying. But in principle, there's nothing wrong with preaching. There's nothing wrong with proselytizing. Even if you're religious. There's nothing wrong with religious preachers. In principle. Now, it's wrong. It's wrong in the sense because they are incorrect with what they're saying, right? What they're saying is nonsense. Religion's nonsense. But there's nothing wrong with preaching. And so my point is that people connect with that. They connect. Like, why do people like music? Because it speaks to them. They feel something after listening to a song, a great song, or a great movie, right? They feel something after that, and that moves them deeply. And so my point is that has to happen on behalf of the atheists. We have to speak to people, and not just through logic. That's why we're failing, because all we offer is logic, right? Logic. But most people, it goes in and out the other ear. They don't digest it like they digest music or art or a movie, you know. Um, and so, to me, what the answer is a scientific perspective. Much like what Carl Sagan did with Cosmos. That speaks to people, To me, I think as you understand the world scientifically, it only enhances it only enhances the way you experience the world. It enhances your ability to understand the connections you have with the rest of the world and the people around you. And that's where I think the answer is. The answer is in making people understand those very deep connections that you can understand without God. Evolution, for example, is a fascinating thing to understand. Not only does it start to make sense why we have the different bodily features we have, but it also enhances your sense of, oh, yeah, not only are my family related to me, but other people, other strangers. We all share the same blood. We all share genetic makeup. We're all connected biologically through DNA, an incredible molecule. Right? We all share connections with the earth. We all come from the earth, right? Abiogenesis. That the air you breathe is the air that everybody else breathes. That we all share an atmosphere. That the water you drink today likely was once drunk by another person, dinosaurs, people. It's been the same water recycled for billions of years. The sand beneath your feet, the dirt, it's all been recycled. And we all come from that. That's fascinating. We're all connected to the earth geologically. So you can start to see the biological, the geological connections, the interconnections. Right? And then the cosmos, we're all cosmically connected. That every atom in your body was once in the core of a star, of a supermassive star, billions of years ago. That was forged together because of the high amounts of compression and energy and heat inside of a star. And then that star exploded. And over millions of years, the gases and dust spread out into the universe and eventually collapsed into clouds and planets. And you are stardust in a way. You're made of stuff from the stars. You're made of star stuff. That's fascinating. And the atoms in your left hand come from different stars than the atoms in your right hand. That we don't come from just from one star, but from possibly hundreds or thousands of stars, because stars themselves recycle over billions of years. Stars explode and then the stuff collapses back into another star. And this has been going on for billions of years. It's fascinating stuff, and it deeply connects you with the world, with the cosmos itself. We're part of the universe. So once you start making these connections, you start, it enhances the way you see the world. You see people differently, You see people differently. You see animals differently. You see the earth differently when you understand it. When you understand our origins, when you understand the climate, how that works. It makes you a better person. It increases your appreciation for being a human being. Understanding all the things our ancestors have gone through, understanding the evolutionary history that we all share together. It makes you appreciate being alive in a way that religion just can't do. It just can't. No matter how you say, oh, God made us from clay, God made us, it just doesn't hit as deep as science does. It just doesn't. Because it goes, not only is the science more just intricate, it's also true. It's also true. Everything I stated was also true. And there's a science offers you a tool that allows you to pry open the universe and see what it's all about. You can't do that with the Bible. You see, the Bible promises you all these things. Yeah, we have all the answers. Let's say it's like the Wizard of Oz. Oh yeah, we have all the answers. It's in this book. Believe me. But then you try to question it, and it gives you fluff. It gives you nothing. Science actually, when you poke it, it gives you something back. And you can pry it. You can keep prying it. You can keep poking it and seeing what happens. You can do this repeatedly, no matter as much as you want to, and you can keep doing it forever. That's power. That's incredible. And so science all around offers you a far better package for it touches every aspect of your life in ways that religion just can't. But again, people get stopped by the fear in them when they hear, oh, we're apes, or we're just molecules in motion. Right? That scares people because they have been conditioned to believe that humans are the most important things. We live in little bubbles, societal bubbles, where we tell ourselves, yeah, we're the best species. We're different from the animal kingdom. We're a different thing. We're not animals, we're human beings. Right? And so the connections, they disconnect. Society has a way of disconnecting you from nature. And so that's why religion grabs you and says, come here, I got a book here that can make you feel good. But again, you're still in that bubble. Science can bring you back to nature, connect you back to the world, connect you back to the universe. And enhances your life. And so, yeah, you can't explain this to people in one day and make them change. Like, you're not going to change somebody when saying this. My point is that atheists need a message. We need something like this, right? What I've just described to you in this past 20 minutes is something that more people need to be talking about, because people are hungry for connection, right? Why are Gen Z people looking to religion more and more? Because there's no connection anymore. Everybody's on their phones now, but society's evolving rapidly, but humans have the same needs. We're the same humans we've been for the past 100,000 years. We have those same inner needs to connect with other people. And so religion, again, is something that is easy to grasp onto for young people, right? Because they feel like, oh yeah, that's it, right? There's my guidance. There's my community, the church. There's my lifestyle in the Bible. It has all the answers. It seemingly has all the answers for people. And that's why we see this little uprise in religious beliefs. But that's the problem. That's the only one. There's no alternative to that. There's no secular alternative. And that's what we need. Not just because I want people to become an atheist, but because that other perspective offers a far more enriching experience for people. A far deeper way of being and living as a human being. So, but yeah, all you hear about now, all most atheists are now is, come debate me, bro, right? Debate me, bros. That's all it is now. Come on up, debate me. Yeah, God's evil. He killed babies. It's not very effective. If we care about making the world a better place, that kind of discussion is not very effective. It's entertaining. Don't get me wrong. It's very entertaining. But it's not helping people. It's not. It's not helping anybody, really. In fact, most people who go onto those atheist lives, they are already questioning their beliefs. And so they're already on the fence. That's why they're more open to going up there. But that's about, 2% of people. 98% of people don't give a shit about that. They don't give a shit about your debate. And so that's why in order to actually help more people, we need to offer a hand. Reach out to people. And yeah, if it's proselytizing, so be it. But it's something to help people. It's something to offer people. But again, a lot of atheists are going to say, Mike, this is religion. This sounds like religion. Okay. And religion is human. Guys, we are tribal animals. We evolved in tribes. We evolved with certain leaders. We evolved with this kind of herd mentality. We've evolved with traditions. Every year we have a birthday. We sing a song. We do a dance. The New Year. Look at the New Year's, right? The New Year. Happy New Year. Nothing really happened. But isn't it great that we have a tradition where the whole world comes together for a moment and shares a couple digits on the clock? That's incredible. That's a religion, but it's a beautiful thing. And so far too many atheists are just anti-religion. Religion bad. But it's human. You can't deny that. You can't deny that people yearn for that connection. They yearn for that community. They yearn for that belonging. And if you don't offer that, and that's why a lot of people, the first thing they ask is, where do you get your morality as an atheist? They're not saying that because they're dumb. They're saying that because they're curious. What happens if I become an atheist? Where will I get a sense of purpose and belonging and community if I don't have church, if I don't have my Bible, if I don't have my family who are also religious? What will happen? That's a great question, but it has to be answered properly. And it can be. It's just that atheists don't do any kind of job at all at demonstrating that to people, that there is a solution to those problems. There is an answer. That as an atheist, you can have a deep sense of morality. As an atheist, you can have a deep sense of purpose. I would argue deeper than religion can offer you. As an atheist, you can have a sense of community. We can build it ourselves, right? That isn't being demonstrated, and that's why 95% of people still believe in religion, So, now versus 100 years ago, is it the case that people are less religious? Yes. Is it the case that the trend is in our favor? Yes. Is it the case that the people who are religious are more loosely religious? Yes. But I still think that we could do a far better job as atheists by offering something to everyday people, showing them that it's okay to be atheist, that there is a deep spirituality involved, with understanding the world, with enhancing your understanding of the universe. Anyone who is honest will say that there's no better example than Christ. I disagree. Jesus Christ, if he existed, he probably didn't, but if it did, it was probably a bad person. He went around preaching nonsense to people, and he essentially, if he's God, was a terrorist who slaughtered a bunch of people in the flood, right? He commanded slavery. He did all these terrible things. If what you're saying, if the Christian religion is true, Jesus was not a good person, in my eyes. There are far better examples for people out there. Yeah, but Mike, if you say it's subjective, I can say it's good. What? People don't look. A lot of people think that because morality is subjective, that means that Hitler is good. No, no. I can say that Hitler is bad, and I could agree to that wholeheartedly and say that yes, it was always bad for that to happen. I can say grape is always bad. I can say that, even though it's subjective. Yeah, but there's no difference between objectivity and subjectivity when we say that things are bad. In other words, when you say something is objectively bad, that doesn't increase the degree of badness versus a subjective sense. It doesn't change a damn thing. Whether it's subjective or objective, it's the same amount of badness. And so the reason why you're asking that question, well, if morality is subjective, well, then I can say Hitler is good. It's your failure to understand, or at least comprehend, any sense that there isn't an authority on morality, right? See, people look subjectively or subconsciously, we're looking for an authority. We are raised this way as children. We look for our parents, our parental figures, our father figures, our mother figures, right? Our fathers tell us, don't do that, son, right? Our mothers, don't do that. And so we look up to them as an authority on what's good or wrong to do. And we grow up and we keep thinking this way, then as a religious person you think likewise. God is the ultimate authority, and so you're conditioned to believe that there has to be an authority on all morality. But that conditioning has to stop. We have to let go of the notion that there is any objective authority on any moral matter, but have the guts and the courage to be our own authorities, to think about these moral decisions on our own terms, to understand the social nuances and understand that people may have varying degrees of opinions about moral matters, but that we can come together and we can agree to certain things and form laws. It seems like many religious people don't know how to don't understand that, right? They think that there has to be an authority and therefore God must be it. And not only is that wrong in principle, but it's also extremely wrong, I think, when you tether yourself to a moral principle that never changes. By definition, right? God's morality never changes, and so whatever the Bible says must always be correct. I think that's a very dangerous thing to do. When you don't have a moral system that adapts to new ideas, when you don't have a moral system that changes depending on the data, why would you want a moral system that was made thousands of years ago trying to fit it in with the modern world? It's just not going to work. For example, what's the Bible's opinion on cloning? Is cloning wrong? Well, 2,000 years ago, they didn't know about that. They didn't know what cloning was. And so they didn't know what stem cells were. They didn't know what IVF was. What's the Bible's opinion on IVF? Is it moral or immoral? Well, they didn't really know. And so how could you possibly utilize the Bible as a moral authority when it doesn't even have the scope required to fit in with modern society? My moral system does adapt. It does adapt based on new information. It actually analyzes all situations based on the data, based on certain normativity, certain principles, certain things like that. But the same cannot be said for religious morality. It's stuck in time. Yes, it also is the case that Christianity often has, some of it's good. Some of the Christian morality is good, but a lot of it is, you get to own your daughter as a slave, and it's not very good, And then they have to find ways to excuse themselves out of that, right? They have to often find ways to, that was the Old Testament. That was back in this context. They have to make up all these excuses. Whereas there are no excuses in my ethical framework. There's no excuses. It's going to be all out in front of you to see and understand. There's a logical basis for it. There's a evidential basis for it. So, yeah, these are some of the problems with religious morality. Mike, do you think that we should only believe what can be scientifically proven? Well, there's no such... When you say the word proof is not a scientific notion. Proof is designated to logic and mathematics. or you can make a deductive logical proof or deductive mathematical proof. But in science, we deal with empirics. And so we deal with approximations in science. We deal with what is the most approximate or most accurate answer based on the available data. We make cumulative cases. And so, yeah, empiricism, I think, is a fantastic thing, but if that's your question, we should always have evidence for what we believe, yes. But proof is a different kind of thing than evidence. Have you read The Demon Haunted World? Yes, it's right there behind me. It's my favorite. It's the best book I've ever read. It's my favorite book I've ever read. Yeah, to me, Carl Sagan was a very amazing role model. He lived his life to the best of his ability, and his understanding of the universe enhanced his experience of the world. Science enhanced his life, and he demonstrated that to people. He inspired people. He inspired me through science, through his understanding. That's a role model to me. And I study that man a lot, and I think that he was a great person, you know. Holy glaze. Well, you're comparing that to people that worship Jesus for the last 2,000 years, no matter what is said in the Bible? You're going to go, come on, that's glaze. Okay, so does science answer every question? No, of course not. There's no such thing as science answering every question. No one domain of knowledge is going to answer every question in the universe. That's not possible. There are different ways of generating knowledge or gaining knowledge. There's logical, there's science, there's empirical. There's no one aspect of knowledge that allows you to understand everything about the universe. I know everything about Stephen Hawking. Well, it's not Hawking's, it's Hawking. So I don't know if you think, I don't know if you know everything about him. What are your thoughts on AI, like generative AI? Yeah, it's a good question. We are in the early stages of AI, right? Right now, people use it to scam people. We use it to fake videos and do memes, and it sucks. It takes up energy. It's wasteful. However, the good aspect of AI is that it's intelligence, and we can replicate it digitally. That's power. There's power there. And never before in human history has this happened. We're at the crossroads where we are looking at the intersection of artificial intelligence powered by very powerful chips, graphics processing, and robotics, right? All these different industries are now intersecting in the right way to allow for artificial intelligence embedded into robots that can perform tasks and jobs. And look at all these things coming together, right? Look at all these companies racing to build the best robot, racing to build the best GPUs and CPUs and AI CPUs. Look what's happening. We're living in the midst of the AI race. And this is amazing because these big CEOs, these tech companies, they foresee a future in which all there are robots doing jobs. And look, for many people, that's scary. But one day, as we already are seeing it, AI is slowly infiltrating into our technology. Our phones, our TVs now have AI. And eventually, everything around you will have AI. Everything around you will become intelligent. And imagine if one day we achieve AGI or ASI. And imagine one day it being so cheap and affordable that everything around you is super intelligent. Even your phone, even your TV, even your shirt is super intelligent. And imagine if one day robots that have the ability to perform any job you want, embedded with this intelligence, are able to literally do anything you want. Imagine that future where one day you ask for something and the robot generates it for you. Does it cheap? Does it fast? And so just imagine the economic revolution this would have on the world. This would revolutionize everything for humanity. And so, yeah, right now it sucks. It's stupid. But there is a vision that that some people have today that makes AI investment worth it. And that future is one in which humans don't work like we do today. Humans are always going to be working, right? We're always going to be doing something. It's just part of human nature to want to do something and to work. And there's always going to be struggle, okay? That's never going to go away. In fact, struggle makes us human. It makes us want to continue. But I can envision a future in which there is a large amount of abundance for every human being. A world in which every person has access to amazing healthcare, to housing, to incredible technology. Every person has what they need to the baseline to survive and and hopefully to thrive. Imagine if one day we automate the entire economy in such that every person can do anything they want to. They can build anything they want with the help of AI and robotics. You can go to space. You can build an empire on the moon or build an empire on Mars or do anything you want to with the help of all this technology and intelligence. That's the future I envision, right? That one day humans and AI work together and we explore the universe. We enhance our lives. We biologically stop aging. We cure all diseases. We stop cancer. Imagine that. Or just imagine that kind of world. It's all possible. It's for the first time in human history. It's within our grasp for this to happen, if we use science and technology properly. If we understand how to use it, this future could happen. But if we shun away science and technology because it's too woke, or I don't understand it, or if we reject science and technology, this future will never happen. If we don't teach people how to use this technology, I see a future that's very bleak. One in which inequality rises, in which all the power is in the hands of a very few amount of people. and they become very, 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 very rich, and we become very, very poor. We're at a crossroads where these two futures are possible. It's up to us to decide what we want. If we continue what we're doing now, and the public is not empowered, the public doesn't know who to vote for. We continue voting for people like Trump, who don't understand science, who don't understand AI. The future looks very bleak. If we keep voting for people because of our lack of understanding of science, the future looks very dark and gloomy. But if we start embracing science, if we start embracing the solutions to our problems, instead of focusing on the problems, we focus on the solutions, right? If we start voting for people who actually understand science, and we demand that our politicians, the leaders in our countries, we demand that they understand science, that they understand AI. If we demand better of our students and children, then anything's possible. So yeah, I think AI is a great tool. We should utilize it properly, though. What is your response to people who say the pursuit of knowledge is pointless as there's too much info? Well, I agree that right now, in the current moment, the human body cannot. There's only so much information we can take in before our nervous systems go out of whack. There's something called cosmic anxiety, where people understand, if they understand too much about the universe, they start to get anxious. It's a very normal thing, very common. But in principle, no, I disagree. I think that in principle, there's not enough understanding. I think there's no end to knowledge out there, and that in the future, ASI systems will probably be on the continuous pursuit of knowledge, and they will love to continually accumulate understanding. Humans are not going to be here forever. This is another thing that people have to understand. Our species will not live forever. Okay? And not just in the sense that we're going to go extinct. Not just in the sense that, one day we'll be dead and there'll be other people. But no, our species will be extinct in the future. Because if you think about it, comparatively speaking, our descendants will look back at us like we were the dinosaurs. Our bodies are, if you compare our bodies to a robotic or machine life, our bodies are tiny, they're flimsy, we get disease easily, we have to continually fix our bodies and maintain our bodies, we have to eat every day. We're very inefficient. Our bodies did not evolve to keep up with the modern society. That's why we keep looking down at our phones. Our necks are shit, like our necks keep breaking. Our spine keeps going out of whack because we keep looking down at TV. Our eyes are going. Our bodies are fragile. And so the point is that eventually either we will completely engineer our bodies to better fit society, or we will just forget our biological bodies entirely and become machines. Machine life. One day, life will be machine life. Machines will be alive, much like we are alive. Not just intelligent, but also alive and conscious. In fact, machines will be more conscious than we are. They will be more aware than we are. They'll be more intelligent, more conscious, and more alive than we are. Oh yeah, and by the way, they'll be better at us than everything. They'll be better at us than at everything. They'll be superior than us in every regard you can think of. And so, yeah. Thinking about this gets people scared. Oh no, we're nothing. We're insignificant. But the way I look at it is, there's no such thing. We are still unique. We're still here. We're still unique configurations of things. Just like we look back at the dinosaurs. I mean, they were far less able than we, far less intelligent, far less aware. Yet we still admire their existences. We still look back and go, wow, they were incredible things. And that's how I feel our descendants will look back at us. They'll go, yeah, they were primitive, but they were unique. They were interesting. They were interesting, a bunch of people. And yeah, so to me, no matter how far advanced people become in the future, no matter what happens in the future, they'll never be able to take away the fact that we were here. We lived this life. And the very small amount we had, we did something unique. We had unique experiences. We saw the universe from a unique point of view. And to me, that's all that matters. And this point of view enhances my appreciation for being human. I love being human. With all of its flaws, it's remarkable. How can the universe be infinite if entropy is always increasing in the universe? Well, nobody said that entropy must have a limit. Nor did anybody say that entropy must go on forever. It could be the case that entropy increases, and then decreases. At a certain point, there's a threshold at which the universe perhaps collapses. We don't know. It also could be the case that if you have a universe, you get a runaway effect where it just continues to grow and entropy increases forever. But that pocket universe might actually exist in a larger universe in which there are many other Big Bangs. And so you have pocket universes spontaneously forming all the time. But the total energy of the universe remains zero. It doesn't change. Because when a universe is formed, it's not, it's only, it's only energy from what was pre-existing. Right? It's not adding any new energy. When you create a universe, you're not adding any energy. The energy was always there. It was locked. It's called an inflaton field, but what happens is in a Big Bang, there's no energy that's being released, or there's no energy that's gaining necessarily. It's just the case that it was always there. It was in potential form, and then it's kinetic. That's how quantum mechanics works, right? It's in fields. There's always a energy that's always held in potential form. And then you also have self-interacting quantum systems, which is a different thing. But the point is that energy is always constant. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very complicated. I'm not a physicist, so I can't really talk much more about that. How can the universe? Yeah, I answered this question. Do YouTube live? No, I love TikTok. It's the best. Advice on dealing with religious people around us. That's a great question, right? Mike, I'm an atheist, but everybody around me is still Christian, and they're annoying. You know, there's a sense that arises in you when you leave religion where you think that everybody else has gone mad. You start thinking that everybody just is lost, or, you know, they're just, something's wrong with them. They're crazy. And that's where you go wrong when those suspicions start arising in you, because in reality, most people are not crazy. It's just the case that they're misinformed. They're misguided. You know, we still live in a world where we're taught certain things. And so there was a time where I wasn't religious. There was a time where I grew up never questioning my religion, never questioning God, never questioning anything about my beliefs. In fact, I was actually never questioned by anybody about my belief until I was 20 years old. And it was the person who inspired the question in me was a religious person himself. Would you I mean, just think about that. Our society is not configured very well for questioning religion. And so it's completely normal for people to be misguided. So when you live in a world where people are religious, you have to remember this. Remember, there was a time where I was religious. There was a time where I was religious. And when I was religious, I wasn't stupid or crazy. I was just misinformed, misguided. You have to understand that. And that person who I was before I was an atheist, that person still deserves love and kindness. No matter how fundamentalist Christian I was, I still deserve kindness and love, right? I was just misguided. That's how I treat everybody around me who is religious. All of your hatred dissipates. You can't have hatred when you understand somebody. It just can't. When you fully understand another person, you can't hate them. It's not possible. And so that's how I deal with people around me who are religious. I recognize, oh yeah, that person, he's not bad. He's just a person who's misguided. In some cases you can help them. You can try to help them. In some cases you can't, right? I'm not going to, my 90-year-old grandpa is religious. I'm not going to spark a conversation with him about God. This is not going to happen, right? I wouldn't even want that to happen. Even if I could convince him, it just wouldn't feel right. Because it'd be too detrimental for his life. he would have a nervous breakdown. So the point is that recognize that we're all human beings. It's okay if we disagree. It's okay if we have different opinions. It's okay if some people are fundamentalist. It's okay. And sometimes it's hard to exist with, because you just want to help everybody. You want to see them not be religious, right? There's a part of you that wants that for them, but you have to let that go too. Let it go, right? You have to let some things go. They'll never see the world you are seeing it the way you are seeing it. That'll never happen, and that's okay. That's their experience. That's okay. So yeah, to me, there are times where you have to just smile and wave. There are times where you do speak up. You just have to know when and where. And so yeah, it takes a bit of responsibility to be an atheist, and that's why a lot of people are afraid of it. But that responsibility allows you to see the world in a far more incredible way. Like, the way I see the world is so different from my 90-year-old grandpa. It is just so different, the way I see the world, where he doesn't understand any of the things I mentioned today. And think about that. Like, I much rather be me, understanding and having the responsibility of that I have as an atheist, but also have the freedom of understanding the world as I do. That is something I'll never take for granted. It is such a powerful thing. It has made me a better person for it. And so this is another area where atheists don't do a good job. What they do is they overwhelm religious people with all these big ideas, right? Morality is not real. God is not real. Heaven's not real. You die, you go nowhere. And they get overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, like, this is too much. I'm just going to stay religious, right? And it's for them, from their perspective, it's like, oh, that's just too much responsibility. That's just too much emotional burdening to take on. Right. But again, atheists, we have to slowly help people. Like, we have to slowly teach people and guide them. You can't. That's the thing I did when I first began my TikTok thing. That's how I was, right? I was in your face, just God isn't real. Now looking back on that, it wasn't the most effective way I could be an atheist. It wasn't the most effective way I could be an advocate. And so, but yeah, that you have that. We all have the urge when we leave religion to want to do that, right? We all want to go. Yeah, God's not real. You're stupid for believing that. It's all ancient. It's all fairy tale. We all have that angry atheist stage. And a lot of that stems from the deep religious trauma that people experience. And so, yeah, to me, I think that we need more people being role models as atheists, and we need more people to share and offer a more secular point of view, secular messaging. And I'm very optimistic that in the future, the average person will have a far different perspective on the world. You know? Why are you atheist? We aren't a bunch of chemicals. But you are. Everything about you is a chemical. Your DNA is a chemical molecule. You know, when people hear the word chemical, they think of a lab, right? They think of like a something in a bottle or in a flask. Well, we're not that. Well, yeah, you're not a flask, but you are a very intricate biochemical machine. And you know, yeah, your DNA is a molecule, and your body is just a bunch of these molecules working together. But that doesn't degrade your sense of experience. It doesn't. Yeah, we're molecules in motion. We're chemicals in motion, but that doesn't degrade the fact that you are a human being with love, capabilities, and experiences, and a rich life. No matter the medium in which we exist, right? Whether we're chemicals or made of God dust or whatever you believe, whether we're made of clay, whatever you think, it doesn't change anything about our experiences as human beings. We're still the same human beings, you know? It's just the word chemicals that people don't quite understand often. It's people don't really, that chemical, that sounds like science, the science lab we did in high school. It's far more intricate than that. And actually, when you understand the true chemistry behind biology and life, it's fascinating, deeply fascinating, the way the body works. And so, in fact, you learn that not only are we chemicals in motion, but the fact that we are chemicals in motion makes the fact of our life all that more incredible. The fact that your thoughts are just products of chemical reactions, that your experience of love is the product of a vast sequence, a vast cascade of chemical reactions is fascinating. Billions happening every second within your body. Trillions. Think about that. Trillions of chemical reactions are happening on a micro scale in your body every second. And that is what gives rise to your experience as a human being. That's remarkable. That's deeply fascinating. Versus, oh yeah, God made us in 6 days, we're made of clay. That's cute, yeah, that's a cool little story, but understanding the real science behind it all is far more fascinating. And the more cohesive story it generates through science is all that more just marvelous to revere. Versus revering a God. Oh, God made us. Isn't he amazing? He made us in 6 days. He's such a great God. Okay, yeah, that's great. But the lives and deaths of the stars, the galactic formations and dark energy and dark matter, the expansion of the universe and evolution and chemical evolution, and that is far more amazing. when you understand it. And most people don't understand it. And the way we're taught in school is science is about tests. It's about getting tested. It's about getting an A on the test and matching things or understanding species and trees. But that's not really what science is about, right? Science isn't just about knowing stuff on it for a test or memorizing facts about a species of tree. Science is about prying deep into the world, into space and time itself, and peeling away layers of the world that you haven't seen before, looking at it from a different perspective. That's what science is about. It's a tool that aids your life in every way. It changes the way you think about the world. But our teachers don't really teach us that. They're confined to certain curriculums. They're confined to a certain educational atmosphere where they're told they have to say certain things. They can't say certain things. On top of that, parents are busy with work. They don't have time to teach their children. They throw them an iPad and say, "Here, kid, play with this iPad." But that's completely taking away people's critical thinking skills, completely blocking them. And then we wonder why people grow up and then we vote for Trump, and they vote for people who, are taking away science, right? It's just like a feedback loop, a very nasty feedback loop of anti-science, where fundamentally the public doesn't understand it. They vote for leadership who doesn't understand it. The leadership then enacts anti-scientific regulations and laws. And then this feeds back the loop in which the students also don't care or understand science. And then it happens more and more. It's a very negative feedback loop of science literacy. The thing is, the worst part about that is that the people within the loop don't know they're in it. They don't know they're in it. That's why it's more important than ever that we have scientific role models. But think about that. How many of them do we have? How much science do you hear on TV? It's non-existent. How much science do you hear on YouTube? Mr. Beast, does he talk about science? Like, who are the biggest YouTube stars, the biggest streamers? Do they ever talk about science? No. How about news? Does the news stations have? No. Well, any science they have, it's always about asteroids that might be aliens, right? There's always sensationalizing scientific stories. Oh, they found a bone. Oh, it might be an alien bone. This rock might be an alien, and let's have a crazy mad person come in and talk about it. That's not science. And so if the very thing that public is exposed to all the time on their phones, on TV, on the media, it has nothing to do with science, who is teaching students and people science? Who's doing it? Who are the role models? Who are our role models today when we need them the most? We need them the most right now, more than ever, right? Because we live in a world of what? misinformation everywhere. Everywhere you look, everywhere you go, there's people trying to sell you shit. People trying to sell you pills and things and all this. They tell you all these lies and all these things, and you have different debates and discussions. The Earth flat, the Earth round, the moon landings, were they fake? Vaccines, anti-vaccine. There's constant conflicting ideas at your face, and you don't know who or what to believe. When science, people who are literate in science, they don't have that issue. They know their compass allows them to navigate through this misinformation just fine, because they know not to just listen to people. They know not to just listen to any influencer, no matter how many followers they have. Because science is not based on how many followers you have or how convicted you feel or sound on television or on TikTok. But the science is predicated on the evidence, on the data. What does the data say about this? You know, science reminds you to recognize biases, that people are going to be biased about things. You have to move past that, right? Instead of getting stuck in that, because a lot of people, they have a favorite influencer, and then that influencer says something that they agree with, and the comments agree with it. You scroll in the comments, yeah, he's right. And so you get stuck into that. You get trapped in this hole where you are just completely lost in whatever that person says. You agree with whatever they say. And on top of that, it's conditioning that viewer to not be scientific. Now they're just going to learn to follow whoever says things that sound good to them. And that's why Trump won. Why do you think Trump won? Even though everything he says is nonsense. Because he sounds good. He sounds good to people. Make America great again. That doesn't mean anything. What does that mean? What does great mean? How do you dissect that? It means nothing. It's empty words. But it sounds good to somebody who doesn't care to take into consideration the nuance. And so we are raising a public who doesn't understand nuance, who can't grasp complicated ideas, who cannot think on an additive basis, only think in binaries, black, white, right? Male, female. All they have is binary thinking. So we are vastly unequipped for modern society because of the complexities that modern societies requires to understand. You know, as we grow in our social understanding, right, we see this with the gender, like for example, the gender discussion. Most people are not equipped to understand gender. They're not equipped to understand that there might be different views other than what they've been told by their mommy and daddies. And so we have a bunch of people who go, oh, trans bad, gay bad. Just the hatred, the bigotry. My point here is that this brews bigotry, hatred, violence, fighting. That's what all this anti-science is actually doing. It's actually resulting in a world where people hate each other. They're divided. They're polarized. They seek violence. That's why I say a world in which most people were literate in science and were secular, we'd be living in a far better world. Because that point of view does care about evidence and data. And scientists don't immediately dismiss their opponents, say they're crazy or they're stupid for believing this or they're woke. A good scientist doesn't just dismiss any opposing ideas. A good scientist doesn't just eradicate anything that they disagree with, because to them it's bad, right? That's not what a good scientist does. They take into consideration all the data and they analyze it properly, methodologically. That's what science teaches you, disciplines you the right way. That's why science is not just for scientists. Every person should be literate in science. Every person in the world should be equipped with the tools of science, because it disciplines a kind of thinking that helps you in every aspect of your life. And so, yeah. Which is more value, an ant or a cow? It depends. Which ant are we talking about? Which cow are we talking about? Look, if for example, let's say I'm a child who has a pet ant, and I love this ant like nobody else. Right? I have a little farm for it, and I have a pet ant, right? And so I love it like a person. I can love a person. Versus a cow who is an asshole, right? Just stomping around and kicks you, you know. Well, of course that ant is going to have more value to that kid, right? And so value is subjective. It's subjective to people's individual experiences. However, my point as a vegan is that all sentient life has value, sufficient value, such that they should not be harmed. And so anything more than that meets the threshold of value, which consists of their sentience in life, right? Anything more than that, well, that's irrelevant. How much you care about somebody is irrelevant. What matters is that all animals deserve life and to not be killed or exploited. That's all vegans are saying. That's all we're saying. We shouldn't, let's take care of others, even if we might value them less than a person, right? I might value a cow less than a person. I might value a cow more than a person. It's both irrelevant to the fact that both cows and people are sentient and living, and so we should take care of both of them. We should be kind to them. We shouldn't harm others. We shouldn't make their experiences bad. That's all I'm saying, right? So now I think it's more apparent to you that the degree of value that we assign certain beings is really irrelevant, more than that meets the threshold. Trees are also living plants as well. You're right, trees are living, but they're not sentient, right? They don't feel, they don't experience the way animals do. By the way, if you care about trees, go vegan, because vegans kill way far less trees. Did you know that, look, there are there are nearly as many cows in existence as people. And most of these cows are not in the wild. They are on farms. and factories. And those farms are not naturally farms. They have to be, the trees are there that previously they had to be cut down. You have to make way, you have to make land for these cows. Okay. And so deforestation is huge for making these farms for the animals. And so going vegan stops that. It says, no, let's not cut down any trees. Let's just cut only down the trees we need for plants, which we already are doing, because we already grow enough crops to feed the entire planet. It's just that most of the crops we grow are being fed to the animals. So why not just, instead of feeding the animals, just feed ourselves? Stop breeding those animals into existence. Just feed us, you know? Yeah, it's veganism is another paradigm shift for people that it just, they're not ready yet for it. They're just not, most people are just not ready for these conversations, right? They're still stuck in, oh, meat, you have to eat meat to be healthy. You have to drink milk for your bones. They don't, they're not ready for these kind of conversations. I miss when Mike grinded debates in YouTube videos. Guys, I've debated so much that, like, there's enough content out there that I have of me debating. Like, I get sick of debating sometimes. I really do. I can't be online every day. I far more enjoy just talking and connecting with people and helping people understand the way I see things. Debating is good. There's utility in debating. I'm not saying it's bad to debate. No, it's good, but there has to be the time where you just talk like a person. And see, when you debate, there's that friction of evil, good. There's a good guy and the bad guy, and they got to fight in battle, right, to death. That's the kind of thing that cannot happen forever. Like, that has to stop. There is a time to fight in battle, but there's also a time to be friends. You know. How do you keep your iron levels up? I eat iron-rich foods like spinach and leafy greens, and beans, grains, nuts and seeds. Yeah, debating doesn't, I don't debate to convince the other side. Like, I'm never going to debate somebody and they're going to immediately become an atheist. That's never going to happen. I debate because I like getting the ideas out there, the logic out there, for people who are curious about the logic, right? But again, like, most people don't give a shit about the logic. They just care about the fighting. They just love to see people go at it, right? Like, most people watch debates because they just like the fighting. There's only a very few sliver of people, a very small sliver of people who actually listen to debates and digest the conversation fully. Most people just loosely listen to it because it's fun to hear people fighting and arguing. You know. Yeah, who's winning, right? Yeah, who's winning, right? That's all we care about. That's like, why do people like sports? Who's winning? Right? Who has more points? That's all we care about, right? Most people just care about who's gonna win. I was more on the agnostic side, but after watching your debates, I lean on the atheist side. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care what you believe. I care if you're thinking. Look, I don't, I actually rather have somebody watch my debates and still be Christian, but digest what I'm telling them, what I'm saying. Like, I rather have somebody be Christian, watch my channel, and understand what I'm trying to say and understand what I'm saying and my perspective. I'd rather have that happen than they become an atheist and not really understand my point of view, all because I sound good, right? Um, but yeah, that's great that you're thinking and watching. I great appreciate that. The first time I heard you talk to N, who's N? I was like, wait, he's kind of right. Who's N? Have you tried in and out? Oh, Nate, yeah. Have you tried in and out? No. Is that the burger place? You brought me out of his mentality. Of this mentality. Yeah. It's the anti-trans crowd is some of the most like really hateful people, you know. Um it's just deep deep misogyny, deep hatred for the LGBT community. Uh and that's why I began doing those debates, because I just had to bring up those arguments where it's like, no, guys, that's not. There's a different way of seeing this, and yeah, I'm glad. I'm very happy to debate all those topics. I do. There's always a reason why I do those topics. If universals, will that made meat ever catch on? I think so. Look, conventional meat is going to go up in price. It's only going to go up in price. You think meat is expensive now? Just wait 3-4 years from now, guys. It's going to be way more expensive to get meat, okay? But also 3-4 years from now, there's also going to be widely distributed or cultivated meat, okay? And that's going to be cheaper. It's going to be a bit cheaper than conventional meat. And so people are going to be like, oh, wait a minute, there's this meat here. And then over time, cultivated meat is going to go down in price, and conventional meat is only going to go up in price. And so it's going to be a crossroads where it's going to make just all the financial sense to get the cultivated meat, and it's going to be widely distributed, and it's going to be a big thing, and it's going to remind people of animal agriculture and why it's bad. If universals aren't real, why do laws apply to new cases at all? Why do laws apply to new cases? I don't know what do you mean by applying? We don't apply laws. We're not. So when we talk about laws are descriptive, they're not prescriptive, right? So when we talk about the laws of physics or the laws of logic, whatever, we're not saying that this is. We're not saying that the universe has to follow these things, right? Or we have to apply these to the universe. We're saying that we're just describing how we think the universe is operating. They're just completely descriptive. You got blown out on the consciousness debate. Can you describe to me how consciousness is not material? I'd love to hear that. How do you feel that Alex isn't vegan? I don't want to talk about other people. Yes, the whole world should be vegan. Yes, absolutely. It'd be far better. Mike, I remember you said that by iPhone 18, they will focus mostly on AI. Well, Apple is definitely working on glasses. Okay, Meta, Apple, all the big companies are working on AR glasses, and that's going to replace the phone in a couple years. We already have some good AR glasses today, but next year, the coming 2-3 years, are going to be way more popular because they're going to be cheaper than an iPhone is, and yet it'll be a different experience for people. Okay. Do you think there's a physical uncaused cause? This is the whole causation discussion is, to me, unscientific. What do you mean by cause? What does it mean to cause something? This, at least in the realms of science, is a very fuzzy word. It doesn't. There are different types of causations. And it's a big mess to me. And people, when they use the word, and when Christians use the word cause, they mean like, they mean there all kinds of weird things. I don't know. It's how did I come to atheist? Check my YouTube channel. I'll have a video about it. The universe doesn't need a cause. The Big Bang is not the cause of the universe. Like, people, that's the go-to, right? The theists will say, well, the Big Bang was the cause. Therefore, who caused that? God, right? No, the Big Bang did not cause the universe. That's not how that works necessarily. The Big Bang merely describes the evolution of the universe. It does not describe the origin. There might not be an origin. The universe may have always existed. The Big Bang could be the true, yet the universe be infinite. But again, theists, they can't really grasp that nuance, and so they think they have a gotcha here. Oh, see, the Big Bang was the cause, and so God caused the Big Bang. Every bang needs a banger, and God was the banger. Right? That's it's faulty logic, right? But again, they don't see that. They think they have a gotcha, so they all use that, like, robotically. There had to be beginning. No, there doesn't. There's no such thing as beginnings in physics. There's no such thing as a real ultimate beginning in physics. It doesn't exist, especially in quantum mechanics. There's no such thing as beginnings. What do you mean beginning? Beginning of what? It's all arbitrary, right? It's a placeholder. Time is just a placeholder for a certain coordinate in this particular dimension. It's not. The way your intuition works is you think that time flows. It doesn't. There's no such thing as the flow of time. It's not real. Time doesn't actually pass from moment to moment. It's not real. And so when people say, well, you can't have an infinite regression of time because infinite time would have to pass to get to that. But that doesn't happen. There's no such thing as an infinite passing of time. That never doesn't exist. And so anybody who uses the argument just doesn't understand relativity. They don't understand relativity. What do you mean by time is not real? I didn't say time is not real. I said the passage of time isn't real. Time is real. It's just that the flow of time, the sense that time is passing from moment to moment, like a ticking of a clock, that isn't real. Okay. But time is real. But time can be infinite. Just as space can be infinite, right? And when we look into the universe, we never ask ourselves, well, where's the first space? Where did space begin? No, it's just infinitely there. And all of space is just there. We can say the same about time. We can say the same about time in the sense that all of time also coexists with all the space in the universe simultaneously. And it's far more complicated than that. But the point is, that's the main idea, that time can all exist out there in the universe simultaneously. Our past and our future, they exist right now in the universe. So your intuition says that we have to wait for the future to get here. But that's not true. That's not how physics works. In physics, the future is already here. The past is still here. And so that's why I think physics is a far better authority here on time versus your average TikTok Christian. And even most Christian philosophers don't understand time from a physics perspective. A lot of them still hold to like Aristotelian time as Aristotle saw it, or these ancient philosophers who did not know a thing about relativity, and that's why the whole the first mover or the first cause, they're just ancient arguments that don't work anymore. But people still hold on to them because they sound good to people who don't understand physics. So, anyway, I think I'm going to go, guys. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening.